wait, who's this? What do we got here?
People who started watching me when they were like 12. I know that, and they just like grew up watching me, which is good, I think. Under different circumstances, I say is bad, but I know that. And
how long has he been streaming for? Since 2019, I guess. Oh, I guess it's possible. For 7 years.
And they just like grew up watching me.
My dono is about to disappear. Destiny. Texas Democrats are returning. Will let Tex go through with gerrymandering. What was the whole point of this? I can't believe how weak Dems are. We finally had some leverage and we just blow it. Give us hope. What do you mean? Weren't they about to be evicted from their elected seats anyway? Wasn't that what was going to happen?
Which is good, I think. Under different circumstances, I say is bad, but I know what that environment looks like outside. Like, could you imagine a 12-year-old learning politics from like watching fucking Andrew Tate or like AsmongGold or some shit? You know what I mean? That's like, oh, devastating.
I mean, it's as devastating as learning them from you, but yeah.
That is you're just getting one-shotted from the jump. You're coming into an environment where you're just like, I am going to learn everything on the opposite side of reality.
True.
New kids in corporate settings are talking like that chatter. It's insane law. Yeah, you got spawn camp. It's over. You have to hit a reset. It's over. You took L after L from the start.
Okay.
I know that there's a lot of people who started.
Is Tate even clouded up anymore? Nowhere near as much as it used to be. President Donald J. Trump has officially declared a crime emergency in the District of Columbia. Damn, there's just emergencies everywhere.
This is Democracy Watch. Mark, we have some breaking news.
Hold on. It's my Eat Fresh time. 1 sec.
Today, and Donald Trump has ended home rule in Washington, D.C., sending in the National Guard. First and foremost, can you talk about the legality of this move?
Yeah, so look, the District of Columbia is just that. It's not a state. It's the District of Columbia. It is a federal city created by the Constitution and governed by Congress. And Congress can decide to give the power to run the city to the people of the District of Columbia. That is what is referred to as home rule. It's the reason why there is a mayor that is elected by the people of Washington, D.C., but it also means that the federal government continues to have more power there. And one of the powers that it gives is some power to the president in extraordinary circumstances. And that is when this is supposed to be used to essentially take over for short periods of time the D.C. Police Department, also to deploy federal law enforcement, and as you mentioned, to also send in or activate the D.C. National Guard. So this is not unexpected because Donald Trump has been threatening the District of Columbia going back years and years. But this is an ominous sign, not just for the District of Columbia, where I work, but for frankly every state and municipality around the country.
And that's what I want to dive into now. In terms of him kind of inuring America.
Wait, what is the real reason for Trump's DC takeover? I just want to skip it. We don't need to retread all this. What are people assuming it's for?
Law firms to stand up and say, we're going to bring litigation. We're going to fight the president, as they were threatening Republican senators and members.
What is even going to come from this? What do you predict? I have no idea. I don't know why the fuck Trump is even doing this. He seems fucking retarded. For protests? I mean, you can just protest in other cities, no? I don't know what the point. I don't even know like what the evil point of this would be. It just seems fucking stupid.
This capital belongs to all Americans, and starting now, we're taking it back. And that's the angle. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth was given the tall order of handling this, and he's here with me exclusively. Mr. Secretary, thank you for joining us tonight. So the president called this a public safety emergency, and you said we're going to start seeing the National Guard this week. Tell us more.
This week and in coming weeks, and we're going to work right alongside our law enforcement partners as force multipliers. This is what the American people voted for, Laura. This is what the common sense, clarity, strength. I hadn't heard that story from President Trump before, the story he told about his father, that he told him, hey, son, if you look at the front door of a restaurant and it's dirty, then I bet the kitchen, you can count on the fact that the kitchen is too. And I sat there thinking that's exactly right. If our capital city is a mess, if we can't control our capital city, then what does the rest of the country look like? And what signals does the rest of the country take from that? So just like we did in Los Angeles, alongside our federal law, we took a lot of criticism for 4,000 troops, 700 Marines.
They fixed crime in L.A. Clappers. Thank God they fixed the crime in L.A. It only took them like 1 month. Hooray.
What we didn't get? There was no summer of love in 2020. In 2025, there was a summer of law enforcement. And we quelled the protests of the...
Wait, what? Weren't the BLM riots happened under Trump, though? No?
Attacks on ICE officers. We're going to help get D.C. under control by working with local officials who have been federalized, with federal officials who...
Or are you saying that didn't happen in California? Did he think that that was going to is that the standard now? We assume that every single time there's a little bit of protest or rioting, it's going to become the BLM riots, the largest riots in all of U.S. history?
There was no summer of love in 2020. In 2025, there was a summer of law enforcement. And we quelled the protests of the attacks on ICE officers.
Oh, my
We're going to help
God.
get D.C. under control by working with local officials who have been federalized, with federal officials who are coming in. The D.C. Guard's proud to be a part of it. Other states will contribute this week going into the weeks to come. Whatever's needed, the DOD will provide to make sure this is a safe city for those who live here, for those that work here, and the Americans who want to come visit here and love our capital city.
The question of martial law keeps getting raised by the left, that Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth, they want to impose martial law as authoritarians would. Mm-hmm. To that you say?
To that I say, look at Los Angeles. They said the exact same thing. Oh, look, 4,000 troops, California National Guard. Oh, look, the Marines. You can't put in the Marines. What? They were the troops available to ensure that we de-escalated the situation and didn't allow other lawbreakers to say, look, it's wide open. We can do whatever we want in these sanctuary cities. I was told, oh, you're going to lock up political opponents. You're going to go after Democrats, yada, yada. It's the same stuff every time, mischaracterizing our intentions. The intentions of this president is to establish law and order using legal and lawful and constitutional means, which he completely has. And you know what? You know why they don't like him? He's got the guts to do it. He's got the guts to say, I'm going to federalize the police that don't work. I'm going to bring in the National Guard. I'm going to bring in federal marshals. I'm going to bring in the park police.
How long will
I'm going to
that
control
be?
them.
How
Who
long
knows? How long, what is the...
Well, it costs money, right?
Sure,
It costs money. And the question is, are you there for a year? Are you there for 6 months? And when the troops pull out, what happens?
I would call this conditions-based. I would say it's a situation where we're here to support law enforcement. And the more we can free them up to do their job, the more effective they can be, the more we can work. I mean, this isn't my realm, but the justice system to make sure people who are arrested are actually locked up. That's why the president's talking about cashless bail in sanctuary cities. If you're illegal here in D.C., that's going to be a problem. So all of these things that apply to law and order are front and center for us. And I don't know, weeks, months, what will it take? That's the president's call. But we're going to be there for him to execute as swiftly as possible.
Will the National Guard be detaining Americans on American soil?
Under Title 32, which is the authorization they'll be using, they have broad latitude, but they're not going to be involved in law enforcement functions. They will be standing right alongside our federal agents like they were in Los Angeles. They're going to be proactive. If you take an action or a shot at them, there will be a consequence. So
if a crime is being committed, in other words, and National Guardsmen...
So they're just going to fucking stand there? That's what we're paying all this money for them to fucking stand there?
Sees a crime being committed, then what?
They can come alongside and assist law enforcement.
What if law enforcement isn't on that corner?
I will have their back to ensure they can take the necessary action to protect citizens of D.C. and to protect themselves. So there's no rogue law enforcement going on from the National Guard, but there's also the application of common sense. We're not going to have National Guards just sitting there like this, seeing a crime committed, and not do something about it. You can help somebody, interdict, temporarily detain, like we did in Los Angeles, and hand over to law enforcement. Those are the types of things the National Guard can be trained to do.
Do you guys have buy-in from any local officials in D.C.? I'm not saying you need it, but you can see where it would be helpful. Faith-based leaders, community leaders. Bowser, I think, is trying to walk a line there. She's probably the best mayor D.C. has had, which people think, how are you saying that? Because she's actually better than, I think, most mayors for the last 25 years in D.C.
I think she's walking a line of, as we talked about a little bit before the show, she understands the obvious. She understands the citizens of D.C. are sick of this kind of environment. And I think they're waiting for, if given an opportunity to resist the thugs and the gangs and the criminals and the drug dealers, they want the alternative. So I think the vast majority of D.C. folks, they may not want to say it, especially if they're left of center, but under their breath and quietly, they would welcome a peaceful city where their friends and families can come visit and be safe.
The National Guard going to be picking up these tents? So the homeless tents are all over the city. There are K Street Tunnel. There are some dotting along the area here. There were more before. Some of them have been cleared out. Mm-hmm. What about those?
We're working with the marshals alongside them, alongside Park Police, alongside everybody else. Wherever they need the National Guard to assist, we're happy to be there.
Do you know where the homeless people are going to go?
That's not really my lane. Yeah. Our job is to stand alongside law enforcement. We'll do that.
Other really interesting news over the weekend was the news about the cartels in Mexico. The Sinaloa crime cartel and many others have wreaked havoc on the United States. You covered it when you were a host on Fox. Mm-hmm. You see it up close and personal now. Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, is saying, this is not welcome in our country. You kind of see what she has to do perhaps there as well. What is your target, and how deep into Mexico do you intend to go?
Well, we're not going to comment on any of the reporting from the New York Times. Sorry. I wish they had a little bit more commitment and patriotism for the country about what they report on a whole slew of levels.
Yeah, saying Trump secretly signed a directive to go into Mexico.
I wish the media had more commitment to patriotism about the country. They're not your fucking PR firm. Jesus Christ.
That material like that, true or not, should never be released. Ultimately, the president ran on designating these organizations as foreign terrorist organizations. We spent 20 years battling foreign terrorists in other countries. Now we've got them in our own hemisphere, poisoning our people with drugs, with gangs, with violence.
It's never been this bad before.
How y'all doing today? Y'all staying in that trouble? You got your ID on you, Chip?
No, I live right here.
Okay, cool.
It's a cigarette.
Come on.
Did y'all get a call or something about right here?
No, so we're doing checks, keeping everybody safe down here, right? Have you heard of the federal surge that Donald Trump's putting out?
No.
Right. You don't follow like
No.
Code 3, anything like that people are putting up? All right, so yeah, Trump's got all federal agencies kind of coming together for 7 days and going out, trying to stop the violent crime, all kind of stuff. So we're out here contacting people, talking to them, right? Quality of life offenses, smoking, drinking in public, right? Can't happen outside, right? Most people know that. Right? So we're contacting people, trying to advise them of the law, so they learn, right? And then if there's other stuff going on where it turns into there's multiple agencies or somebody, there's shootings and things like that. There's extra hands there, right? So we're just out here trying to inform people and educate people. It's not like we're trying to just go grab people and ruin someone's life over a joint or something like that, right?
I only asked because when you walked up at the moment you walked up, you only had to ask me.
Yeah, well, it smelled like the odor of marijuana, burnt marijuana in the air, right? And you only got to have something in your hand. I didn't flash like you, so I didn't realize it was just a cigarette. So that's on me. I appreciate you understanding and not getting shit with me. All right, so just know, right? Learn, teach, tell your boys, like, yo, everybody's out. From FBI to the police. So do your thing, let them know. Don't be smoking outside, don't be drinking out.
I'd be real careful on that one. We're not trying to ruin anyone's life. Like, despite what fucking losers online will tell you, there are nice cops that don't give a fuck. Even if it's illegal, if you have weed, they'll make you toss the river. They don't care. But if you're sitting outside your home and cops are walking up just asking questions about, like, is that weed? I'd be real worried that if you admitted to it here, if you have no reason to, if you admitted to it, does that give them the right to fucking toss your entire house? Could they come in and do a whole, like, I would never admit to shit like this. Like, if you get pulled over on a traffic stop and you're like, fuck, then it's like, hopefully the cop is nice, but they're just walking up to you on your porch here, that'd be hyper sus.
Donald Trump is tired of it. People come to visit. I didn't know that. You didn't know smoking in public? Yeah, the rest of the yeah, so DC is recreational use as well, right? Like, you can legally possess up to 2 ounces. You can gift an ounce to your boy, right? So if you had 2 ounces, he said he needed a zip, you can give him a zip, but you can't smoke outside.
Weed is legal in DC unless there's something really special about the District of Columbia. It doesn't matter if it's legal in a particular state. In states, it doesn't. For federal cops, federal police, it's still federally illegal. So a Fed can, I believe, arrest you for weed, even if you're in a state where in the state it's legal. A state cop won't arrest you, but I believe a federal officer can, unless there's like a really special thing going on in DC where it's not that way.
How y'all doing today?
I only asked because when you walked up at the moment you walked up, you only had to ask me.
Yeah, well, it smelled like the odor of marijuana, burnt marijuana in the air, right? And you only got to have something in your hand. I didn't flash like you, so I didn't realize it was just a cigarette. So that's on me. I appreciate you understanding and not getting shit with me. All right, so just know, right? Learn, teach, tell your boys, like, yo, everybody's out. From FBI to the police. Right? So do your thing, let them know. Don't be smoking outside, don't be drinking outside. Because Donald Trump is tired of it. People come to visit. I didn't know that. You didn't know.
The cop just said it was legal for recreational use, and when the fuck would you take legal advice for a cop? Why would you ever be so fucking retarded to take legal advice for the cop? And half the videos you see where the cops are out of pocket, they don't even know the fucking laws they're enforcing, bro. Why the fuck would you take a cop's advice on that? Talk to a lawyer or something, or look up, shit like that. These might be, though, but like if these are like U.S. Capitol Police, like I don't think these are feds because their vests say police. I think these might just be like state Capitol Police, in which case they wouldn't arrest you, I don't think, for having weed if it is legal in the District of Columbia. But if they're feds, I don't think it matters if they're feds. It doesn't matter if your state doesn't have criminal charges anymore for marijuana. Federal police can still arrest you, I think.
Smoking in public?
These are park police? Okay.
Yeah, the rest of the yeah, so DC is recreational use as well, right? Like, you can legally possess up to 2 ounces. You can gift an ounce to your boy, right? So if you had 2 ounces, he said he needed a zip, you can give him a zip, but you can't smoke outside.
These cops kind of sound chill, though. I mean, it doesn't sound like... I mean, I don't think anything bad happened here, no? I think this is okay. Assuming they're not, like, trying to trap him or something. This seems fine. I don't know. I don't know if, like, smoking on your porch is illegal. If that counts as, like, outside or public. I'm not sure. Same thing with, like, public in talks or whatever. I don't know how that works, but...
with human trafficking, President Trump has said enough is enough. We've sealed it at the border. I mean, the military's down at the border with CBP and ICE, sealing that. We have, and we've come alongside them. Now, where appropriate, when given the opportunity, when it makes sense, at the directive of the president, we will take action to defend the American people.
Does that mean that you foresee U.S. troops in Mexico in some way, shape, or form? Or are you thinking drone attacks, air attacks? What do you think?
I can't reveal anything, but I'm not tipping my hand that there will be U.S. troops in Mexico. That's not what I'm saying.
But are you worried that now the cartels are just moving everything around, that they know that there's a target on their back, they're just like hiding everything however they do that?
We're watching. we know a little bit more than they think we might know about them. We spent a lot of attention watching them. We're focused on this. It's a presidential priority. It's our priority. We're working with federal partners to identify that all across the Western Hemisphere. This is something we're not lying down anymore. If you're trafficking in drugs, you're trafficking in people, you're trafficking in violence, they affect the American people, that's unacceptable, and the Defense Department's going to be a part of solving that.
China on its end, and then the U.S. government on the Mexico side. Friday, big day in Alaska. President Trump meets with Vladimir Putin, but we understand that Volodymyr Zelensky will not be there. But the president said he would tell him how the meeting went. That's been criticized by those who kind of want to keep this war going indefinitely. But tell us what the posture is now. I know you don't want to get ahead of the president, but ultimately, what would look like something close to success here?
Well, nobody else could have created the conditions that lead to a meeting like this.
Hasn't been there since 2015. Putin in the United States.
Nope, and certainly under Joe Biden, the violence raged, the war raged, and Putin never took him serious enough to even consider a meeting. So already President Trump has changed the game. He's created the conditions for a possible negotiated settlement, which is his goal from the beginning, in a very complex battlefield. I don't think Vladimir Putin would be meeting unless he's felt that heat, and I think there's a chance. And the president's laid out the parameters, and so is Steve Witkoff and others who are we're in the strength side of the peace through strength business. But on the negotiating side, there's going to be could be land swaps, there's going to be concessions. No one's going to be happy.
Who are the land swaps between? Can somebody clarify this?
But if anybody can do it, it's going to be President Trump.
Are you going to be there?
I don't know. We'll see what my calendar looks like. Possibly.
Well, can you call us when you find out the information?
And we begin this Sunday morning with President Trump at the doorstep of another deal, this time between Russia and Ukraine.
How many deals, how many ceasefires is this guy going to get before, we actually get something?
The president locking up a face-to-face meeting with Vladimir Putin this upcoming week. He posted on Truth Social, the highly anticipated meeting will take place in Alaska this Friday. That's August 15th. Well, so far, the president is allowing his threat of severe sanctions on Russia by last Friday's self-imposed deadline to wait. Vice President J.D. Vance now in the UK as European leaders and Ukraine's President Zelensky try to counter a plan from Putin that involves Ukraine giving up more territory. I spoke to the vice president about it before he left Washington as we met in the Eisenhower Executive Office building and the vice president's ceremonial office. But I began first with the fight here at home as he just returned from Indiana to discuss plans for redistricting ahead of next year's midterm elections.
We spoke with the governor, with the Speaker of the House there in Indiana, and the Senate President, and the message I delivered is pretty straightforward. We want a unified Republican team. We want to fight together, win together, make big things happen for the American people, and obviously the people of the state of Indiana together. But one of the things that you see in a lot of red states is blue states have really...
Excuse me, why is he not mic'd for this interview?
Aggressively gerrymandered such that they've actually made it harder for the majority of the state of Indiana to have their voice heard in their federal elections. Because if California has crazy gerrymanders, Illinois has crazy gerrymanders, New York has crazy gerrymanders, what it does is it actually suppresses the will of the people in states like Indiana. And the other thing that we talked about, and I didn't even realize this, Maria, until a couple of years ago, that for apportioning representatives, you actually count illegal aliens. So even though illegal aliens theoretically are not supposed to vote, we know sometimes they do, you still count illegal aliens for congressional apportionment. So California has way more House seats than it should because they have such a high population of illegal aliens. So they get rewarded for welcoming illegal aliens in their state, giving them federal...
Pretty sure it's a proportion of population. I don't even know if that's true. Hold on. California population. U.S. population. 39.43 divided by 340.1. So you would expect them to have, is it 338? How many House members are there? Or 438? How many seats in the House of Representatives? Oh, 435. How many seats does California have? California, House of Representatives seats. Ooh, they have 52. They do have 2 extra ones. Wait, but how does this work if, okay, so Montana House of Representatives. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Hold on. Montana Congressional Districts. Is it just like 2? Montana population. 1.137 divided by, what was it, 340 million? times 435. Okay, so Montana has 0.5 more than expected. Wait, I thought smaller states tend to have like more than you would expect, right? So how does California have 2 more? Somebody's gonna check Texas. Texas population is 31.29 million. Small states have no congressional districts. Wait, what? Smaller states are overrepresented in the Senate. I think smaller states are also overrepresented in the House as well because there's a limited number of... Chad is saying retarded shit. Yeah, Chad is just saying retarded shit. Never mind. Fuck. I understand the Senate is 2 per state, but I think even in the House of Representatives, you have more representation. It is 2 minimum plus extra. Is it 2 minimum in the House? It might be 2 minimum for the House. Texas is 31.29 million. So 31.29 times, or divided by 340. Oh, it's 1 minimum. Okay. So we would expect Texas to have 40 seats. Texas congressional districts. Oh, and they have 38. What is the explanation for why is Texas down 2 and California is up 2? Population change between 2020 and 2025. Wyoming has 500K population but gets 1 seat, the same as Delaware. That is double the amount. Hold on. You have to use the population from 2020 when the census was done. Oh, has that changed significantly since 2020? I'll look on this later. I don't know how they do the apportionments.
Benefits, actually asking the taxpayers of states like Ohio to subsidize them, and then those same taxpayers in Ohio and Indiana and elsewhere, they have fewer congressional representatives because of what California has allowed to happen. That's ridiculously unfair, and the only real way to fight back against it is for us to redistrict in some ways as aggressively as these hard blue states have done.
Well, that's an important point, and that is why President Trump said that he wants more work or new work on a new census.
Yes.
How does that change the GOP makeup and the electoral votes?
Yeah, so another crazy thing that I had no idea about, but everybody, even Democrats actually admit this, that the census in 2020 had a major statistical error, and what that meant is that you actually undercounted a few states that are Republican, like Florida and Ohio. You overcounted some blue states. And so what I understand, if you actually did the census anew right now, you would have 10 additional Republican seats and 9 fewer Democrat seats. And really what we're living with, Maria, is the consequence of 40 years of institutional control of the Democratic Party. These guys have fought very dirty for a very long time, and they haven't just won
The Constitution requires that we take a census every 10 years to count every person living in the United States. Why is the census so important? One reason is apportionment, the process of calculating how many seats each state gets in the U.S. House of Representatives. But how does apportionment work? Since 1940, a formula known as the method of equal proportions has been used to determine how many seats in the House of Representatives each of the 50 states receives. The U.S. House of Representatives has 435 seats, and each state must get at least 1 seat. So after the first 50 seats are distributed, the formula is used to distribute the other 385 seats. The formula is used to calculate values that are based on each state's total population and the number of potential seats each state could receive. Then those values are ranked to determine how many additional seats each state will get. This process ensures that each congressional district, from Alaska to Florida and California to Maine, has roughly the same number of people to represent. Since the first census in 1790, the decennial count has been the basis for our representative form of government. Back then, each House member represented about 34,000 people. Today, each member represents more than 700,000 people. Every census is a new snapshot of our nation, and every person must be represented. And as our country continues to grow in size and diversity, the apportionment process ensures equal representation for all, no matter who you are or where you live. The census is more than just a population count. It's an essential element of our nation's democracy, with the power to shape our future for years.
Wow.
Elections and enacted laws that we may not agree with, they have tried to rig the game for Democrats and against Republicans. And thankfully, under President Trump's leadership, you finally see some spine. You finally see some backbone in the Republican Party to fight back against these very aggressive Democratic dirty tricks. But the only way for us to do it is to actually go and do the hard work to reset the scales a little bit. What we want to do is redo the census, but importantly, we want to redistrict some of these red states, and we want to make the congressional apportionment fair in this country. Again, you cannot do it unless Republicans actually take some very decisive action in the months to come. We think they will, and we're obviously supporting them every step of the way.
But do you worry that as Republicans do that, the Democrat blue states are going to do the same thing? And then you'll have redistricting in California, New Jersey, and so on.
You know, Maria, there's just not a whole
No, because when they do it, it's illegal, but when we do it, it's okay.
lot of juice left out of that limit. The Democrats have already gone as far as they possibly can.
I don't think that's even remotely true. I'm pretty sure, I think when we checked the other day, right, most of the poorly district areas tend to be Republican. I feel like Democrats have a lot of juice to squeeze if they wanted to squeeze, no?
Let me give you a crazy statistic. So I believe that it's in New Jersey, Illinois, New York, California, and there's one other Democrat state where you take those 5 states, you have
That's not a statistic. That's called cherry picking. You're picking just a few states and you're trying to make a broader argument. What the fuck?
large number of Democrat representatives. But here's the crazy statistic. President Trump won 43% of those 5 states, and Democrats have something like 85% of the representatives out of those states. You cannot gerrymander these far left states anymore, and that's the whole point. We have unilaterally disarmed in the Republican Party. We have said to the Democrats, if you want to rig the game in your favor in blue states, go ahead. We're going to do nothing to fight back against it. That's crazy. It makes it harder for us to pass our agenda. It makes it harder for us to win elections. And most importantly, it gives Democrats this ability to run roughshod over the country without any pushback from the American people. The democratic system in this country is broken because who you vote for doesn't necessarily get reflected in who your representatives are. We're just trying to rebalance the scales and, frankly, push back against a very unfair system created by the Democrats.
Unbelievable. Let me move on to foreign policy, because President Trump is expected to meet with Vladimir Putin at some point, perhaps in the coming week. What are you expecting?
Well, first of all, I've got to give the president a huge amount of credit here, Maria, because this is a major breakthrough for American diplomacy. If you go back, this war's been going on for over 3 years at this point, well over 1 million Russians and Ukrainian dead soldiers. And as the president says, the numbers are probably much higher than the official tally indicates. There has been no substantial breakthrough. And for 6 months, the president himself, he's asked me, he's asked Secretary Rubio, of course, Steve Witkoff, we've been aggressively working, trying to break the logjam. One of the most important logjams is that Vladimir Putin said that he would never sit down with Zelensky, the head of Ukraine, and the president has now got that to change. We're at a point now where we're now trying to figure out, frankly, scheduling and things like that around when these 3 leaders could sit down and discuss an end to this conflict. Now, what do I think is ultimately going to come out of this? Look, it's actually very simple. If you take where the current line of contact between Russia and Ukraine is, we're going to try to find some negotiated settlement that the Ukrainians and the Russians can live with, where they can live in relative peace, where the killing stops. It's not going to make anybody super happy. Both the Russians and the Ukrainians probably at the end of the day are going to be unhappy with it, but I don't think you can actually sit down and have this negotiation absent the leadership of Donald J. Trump. And the president said this to me today privately. He said, look, maybe this works out, maybe it doesn't, but it's worth the effort. It's worth trying. And we're going to keep on using the diplomatic influence of the president of the United States to accomplish an end to this conflict. And Maria, you know this, but other people may not. If you look at the president's foreign policy accomplishments, if you look at Congo, Rwanda, a war that went on for 30 years, killed 6 million people. If you look at the number of hostages in Israel, in Gaza, who've been released and gone back to their families. If you look at Malaysia, Cambodia, you look at all of these terrible conflicts, the president has shown a willingness to be the president of peace. It's a big, big testament to the quality of American leadership. And it's an amazing thing to have a president who's working to stop the killing when you've had for so many generations presidents who didn't care about bringing peace to these very conflict-torn regions of the world. It's something I think all Americans should be proud of, whatever their political party.
Do you want
peace in Africa?
On Putin to meet with Zelensky before a meeting with President Trump?
I actually don't think it would be that productive. I think fundamentally the president of the United States has to be the one to kind of bring these two together. We're, of course, going to talk to the Ukrainians. I actually spoke with the Ukrainians this morning. Marco has been talking to them quite a bit. We're going to keep that dialogue open, but fundamentally, this is something where the president needs to force President Putin and President Zelensky really to sit down to figure out their differences. We, of course, condemn the invasion that happened. We don't like that this is where things are, but you've got to make peace here. And the only way to make peace is to sit down and talk. You can't finger point. You can't, wag your finger at somebody and say, you're wrong, we're right. The way to peace is to have a decisive leader sit down and force people to come together.
You did not want to send taxpayer dollars to Ukraine and taxpayer funded arms to Ukraine. Do you feel that the current state of affairs improved that, whereas the U.S. will sell weapons to NATO countries and they will go ahead and send the weapons?
Well, 2 things on that. First of all, I think the reason that we reached this decisive moment, a real change in where we were, is because the president was willing to apply some significant pressure and actually say, if you don't come to the table, the American people, we're not going to get involved in this war directly. We have a lot of economic points of leverage, and we're willing to use those to bring about peace. And that was a big thing that happened. To your point about weapons. What we said to the Europeans is simply, first of all, this is in your neck of the woods. This is in your back door. You guys have got to step up and take a bigger role in this thing. And if you care so much about this conflict, you should be willing to play a more direct and a more substantial way in funding this war yourself. I think the president, and I certainly think that America, we're done with the funding of the Ukraine war business. We want to bring about a peaceful settlement to this thing. We want to stop the killing. But Americans, I think, are sick of continuing to send
going on. Look, they are complaining. Well, you're going to come after us and arrest us? Well, what job in America does anyone have where you have to go out and arrest someone to come to work? But that's what we're going to do. Ken Paxton, Greg Abbott leading these efforts. We're going to arrest them and bring them back to the House if that's what needs to be done, or they'll show up. They can't win. They have a losing hand. Again, we're going to pass redistricting and all.
Bro, both these people look like zombies. What the fuck? In the middle.
Coming up with a week to go for them to come back. So if they don't come back, that means they're turning their back. They're turning their back on the families who lost 137 people in the terrible July 4th flood. They're turning their back on Texas. They deserve to be arrested and brought back. And if they can be removed from office, they deserve that too, because they are not serving the Constitution, in my view. They're not serving their constituents, which they vowed to do. They are on the run, and if we can find them and cuff them, we need to bring them back, because we need to do the business for Texas. We're not doing anything wrong. Everything we're doing is legal. In the Texas Senate, my job is to pass conservative.
So basically what's been going on, this is crazy. They're actually getting away with it.
I would say that this is, from at least a political point of view, quickly turning into a dud of a story. What am I talking about here?
Which is wild.
Which is wild. Which
where
is
this has been for 3 weeks.
Down by 89%. Oh my God.
Google searches for Epstein falling through the floor. It is no longer the top term. It's quickly becoming something of a nothing burger.
So
right now, we are going to do citizen journalism past 30 days. Wow. What about 90 days? Wow. So it went up a lot, and now it's just leveling off. And basically, the lizards are going to get away with it.
has it impacted Trump's popularity, favorability, anything?
Yeah. No, not really. I mean, take
People
a look here. Let's take a look at the overall numbers.
Okay. I don't like to do I told you so's, but wasn't I on a panel a while ago and everybody's like, oh no, the Epstein stuff is really destroying the Republicans. And I'm like, I don't think so.
Trump's approval rating
is still at 90% of the GOP. So 45% approve of Trump. That's a lot. I'm surprised.
So he's 7 points higher among Republicans. His approval rating is near a record high.
What do you think is behind it? Why there hasn't been more movement?
I think this is pretty simple. Take a look here. Nation's top issue is the Epstein case. This is the number of respondents. Interest in this story has fallen.
That one person is CoffeeZilla.
I would just say this. Donald Trump has some.
Is he a Republican or does?
Some of the best political instincts of any politician I've seen, and on this particular issue, you see it full well.
It would have been way better if we just had a few people, put them in jail. Everybody would be so happy. Everything, bro, you had this locked in.
Listen to how passive it is. He's not blaming Trump. Will he? Will he call out Trump's name or?
What happened to you used to be great, and now you're just a MAGA shill. Keep your bias and opinions out of the data that you share. This is not. This is This isn't a fucking. This is a graph. Just look at the fucking graph. I don't want it to be true, but you've got to look at what the fucking numbers are, right? It was always a nothing burger amplified by online foreign bot farms.
That guy's a bot.
Gentlemen, I guess I'm a Russian.
And just like that, Asmon is now the top socialist streamer on Twitch. Victory!
No calling out of who's actually the president during the Epstein thing. You better fucking believe that if this was under Biden or Kamala, he would constantly be talking about them trying to intentionally bury the story. Maybe he does in other videos. What? Why is Hillary Clinton next to Epstein here?
House subpoenas the Clintons. What? What the hell is this? The House Oversight Committee is compelling the following individuals to appear for depositions through issued subpoenas. Former Secretary Hillary Clinton. Former President Bill Clinton. Former U.S. Attorney Merrick Garland. Former FBI Director James... Bro. What?
News. House Oversight Chairman James Comer has just issued subpoenas in the Jeffrey Epstein case for the complete Epstein file and more for depositions from former officials. Those officials include former attorneys general Bill Barr, Loretta Lynch, Eric Holder, and Merrick Garland. Also, former FBI directors Robert Mueller and James Comey, and both.
Oh, because AsmongGold doesn't know anything about politics. He doesn't realize these are all Donald Trump's political enemies, by the way. That's who these are. Comer doesn't actually have to even communicate with Trump anymore. He just knows through the ingestion of Trump's semen. He automatically can osmosis his thoughts. I don't know if Asmon thinks these people are like relevant in some ways, but all of these people are related to the Russia stuff and the January 6th stuff. So Barr wouldn't do Trump's bidding on Jan 6th. That's why Barr left. I don't know who Alberto Gonzalez is. Jeff Sessions recused himself during the Russian investigation. Mueller was obviously the special appointed investigator. Loretta Lynch, I believe, is the Attorney General in New York State, right? Eric Holder, I think, worked. Holder was he the OLC head under Obama? No, it says former U.S. Attorney General. He might have been Attorney General under Obama. Sorry.
Attorneys General Bill Barr,
And then,
Loretta
hold on.
Lynch, Eric Holder, and Merrick Garland. Also, former FBI directors
James Comey. He fired Comey, saying it was because of the Hillary email stuff, but he fired Comey because of the Russia investigation stuff. Hillary Clinton is Hillary Clinton. Bill Clinton is Bill Clinton. Yeah.
Robert Mueller and James Comey, and both of these people now, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and her husband, former President Bill Clinton.
The Clintons will be receiving subpoenas to testify in front of the Oversight Committee about information in the Epstein files. Wait, so they're going to make Bill Clinton testify about the Epstein files? What are subpoenas? It's basically like a legal request for information. Can the Clintons refuse? If you get called in front of Congress to testify, you have to do it, I think, no matter what. It doesn't matter who you are. I mean, unless, like, yeah, you go to jail, exactly, right? Oh, this was crazy. This guy's going to be running for president soon.
No commentary on that. He's not aware that all those people are political enemies to Donald Trump, and that's why all of these subpoenas are being issued. Okay.
Epstein was a pedophile that it came into enormous wealth by very mysterious circumstances and had connections across the globe to very, very powerful people. And he was murdered right before it was all about to blow up.
That's convenient.
And now
really
there supposedly are no files that the American people can see to explain all of that. When he says to his followers.
Can I get I need a say her name, a thing from Oberyn. I need like a say her name.
Like, you're no supporter of mine if you keep talking about Epstein.
Yeah. What do you think was in the files?
Oh, that's a good place to cut it. Damn. He's cooking? What's he cooking, though? Crack. He's cooking crack. That's right. That's right.
Notice? Where are my cynical void-pilled people in chat? Who's the one person that Donald Trump's not attacking? Who's the one person that Donald Trump is not going after? Oh, it hurts. Oh, it hurts. Oh. Fucking Merrick Garland. Oh no. Oh no. Hold on one sec. Did Biden pardon Garland? Oh, I don't know. Did he?
This is a pretty big update by the...
No, he didn't. Please explain the Garland thing. Oh, it's just funny that if he thinks that Garland was so not a threat that he's not even going after him. But I'm sure he might be going after him in other ways. Oh yeah, Garland is here. They just didn't put him on the news broadcast. Trump to nominate Bureau of Labor Statistics critic to lead the agency. E.J. Antoni is chief economist at the Conservative Heritage Foundation and has long criticized the agency's approach to collecting jobs data. Nice. The chief economist of the Heritage Foundation. Was the Heritage Foundation? These were the Project 2025 people, right? It was the Heritage Foundation? Requires Senate confirmation, but it's just 50 votes, right? So he'll have it. Always. Our economy is booming, and EJ will ensure that the numbers released are honest and accurate. Thank God. Somebody to give us some good numbers. Thank goodness. Trump's BLS nominee E.J. Antoni suggests suspending monthly jobs report. Suggesting that the agency suspend its monthly jobs report, an economic staple that is relied upon by the Federal Reserve and U.S. businesses to gauge the health of the economy. Oh, we should just do a quarterly data instead. How on earth are businesses supposed to plan, or how is the Fed supposed to conduct monetary policy when they don't know how many jobs are being added or lost in our economy? It's a serious problem that needs to be fixed immediately, he told Fox News Digital. Until it's corrected, the BLS should suspend issuing the monthly job reports, but keep publishing the more accurate, though less timely, quarterly data. Based.
Now, everybody's talking about the number here.
Talking to Steve Bannon on his Rumble show? Or or really, I don't know. Maybe this is, okay. All right. Well, that's good. That's a... Okay.
Now, everybody's talking about the number here. It's 250,000 jobs. They're like on the downside. It turns out we didn't get, and now it's a restatement. What in the hell's going on there? And have we put in our own person?
This guy looks like a fucking vampire. Jesus Christ.
Into BLS is a MAGA Republican that President Trump knows and trusts. Are they running the Bureau of Labor Statistics yet, sir?
No, unfortunately, Steve, we still haven't gotten there. And I think that's part of the reason why we continue to have all of these different data problems. You know,
now everybody's talking about the number here. It's 250,000 jobs.
Experts have noticed that Trump's new head of labor statistics appears to have a Nazi ship hanging behind him in his office. Is this? I don't know anything about fucking ships. This is the dude with the Nazi warship 5-panel art piece in his office. It's the Bismarck. Oh, okay. Based. How can the economy be bad when jobs are growing so fast? Because everyone has 2 of them. This is not the case. Multiple job holders are around 5% of the total employed, roughly when it was pre-pandemic, and below Where it was in the 1990s. Based. This is our new guy. Millions of student loan borrowers were seriously delinquent on their debts, but former President Biden's Department of Education purposefully hid this information until after the November election. How? Okay. It's not just that the Fed is paying over $450 million in interest a day to financial institutions, but that over 3/4 of RRPs, what does RRP stand for? Are foreign accounts. Where's the outrage? The Fed is not America first? Reverse repurchase agreements. I mean, that you lent the money. Or rather, others lent the money to you, right? What do you mean it's not America first? It was like you're funding the government. You're selling the debt, no? I mean, like, what do you... You borrowed the money is what I should have said. Seriously disfire the whole board of governors at this point. Remittances due to the U.S. Treasury Wednesday level millions of dollars. I don't even know what this means or stands for.
Even starting to show up in the macro level data. This whole of government approach that the current Trump administration is taking to deregulation is seriously paying dividends. In fact, that may end up having an even bigger positive impact than the tax bill. And that's saying something. Sure enough, that's what happened during the first Trump administration. Both for small businesses and large businesses, they near universally said that the deregulation under the first Trump admin actually did even more to help them than the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act from the end of 2017. So that just puts into perspective, I think, how powerful both over-regulation was during the Biden administration to crush business and consumers, and now how powerful deregulation is to take those burdens off of Americans. Oh, certainly.
The one big beautiful bill's reforms will reduce federally subsidized borrowing. Not only will that deliver big time savings for taxpayers, but it will also make it harder for unis to relentlessly hike tuition, ultimately making it more affordable for students. How is it that conservatives, we have so many ticking time bombs. Have any of these ever gone off? The caravans at the border were ticking time bombs. Student loan debt is a ticking time bomb. Do any of these ticking time bombs ever actually explode? Like the housing market was a ticking time bomb, but it seemed like none of them were calling that out under Bush. Okay. Well, during Obama, the debt was like world-ending shit, so much so that they couldn't raise the debt ceiling because debt bad. True. Uh-oh. Trump's aluminum tariffs may force Arizona's famous 99-cent iced tea to increase in price for the first time in 3 decades. Arizona uses more than 100 million pounds of aluminum a year for its cans, and about 20% of that comes from Canada. Mr. Voltaggio is hopeful that the tariff dispute will be resolved, but if it is not, he said at some point the consumer is going to have to pay the price. I hate even the thought of it, Is it Voltaggio? 73 said, adding, it would be a hell of a shame after 30 plus years.
Trade in countries and using the levers of trade and tariffs, even though
hundreds of billions of dollars of investment that will
Direct
flow into the United States. That's Kellyanne. That's going to mean millions of jobs for Americans, for working. That's why they call him the working class president, because that's going to create jobs in factories and manufacturing and technology. So I'm very impressed with what's going on right now. I'm super bullish.
Countries and using the levers of trade.
Goldman's latest, still very early, analysis of tariff effects through June of 2025. Foreign exporters absorbed 14% of U.S. tariffs. U.S. companies ate 6.4%, and U.S. consumers ate 22%. Protected U.S. companies also raised prices. Consumers will see bigger price increases, 70%. Wait, did I read this right? U.S. companies ate 64%? Did I say 6.4 or 64%? Sorry, exporters absorbed 14%. Companies ate 64%. And U.S. consumers ate 22%. Goods categories heavily exposed to imports have experienced sizable price increases since the beginning of this year relative to their prior trends. Percentage points increases here, gotcha. Damn. It's crazy to me that, like, this has happened in multiple debates. It happened in that one yesterday, that for the first time ever, you've got Republicans, like, bragging about collecting taxes. Like, that guy's like, we collected $100 billion in tariffs. Like, yeah, that's just, bro, that's just all the new taxes that you've paid. I've never in my life heard a Republican brag about increase in
But according to the... Like, this kind of attitude...
Stop. Hold on, we'll get there. What is this? Che is going to get Colin arrested one day.
A Pulitzer Prize-winning cartoonist was the first person to be arrested according to the new California law prohibiting the possession of AI-generated child porn. Which brings me to my new segment, Hear Me Out. Okay. Hear me out. Isn't AI-generated child porn the best possible solution for pedophiles? They aren't real kids. It's just fake kids that are generated by scanning thousands of real... Okay, now I see the problem.
This has been Hear Me Out.
Is this a weekly segment or monthly segment or yearly segment? The guy yesterday basically said that tariffs don't have the aesthetic of a tax. Yeah, basically, yeah. It's twice per year? Gotcha. Coffee prices are skyrocketing thanks to Trump's reckless trade wars, up 25.9%. Ooh, this should be good for coffee brand coffee from the one guy, right? Because all of his stuff was made in America, he said 1 million times. The quartering. She saw black people and the racism came out.
So here's a nice little area over here, you guys. Looks like a flop house situation, maybe. I don't know. Nope, nope, nope. Better than that. Better than that. It's church. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's so great. I'd so much rather see that than people using on the street. But look at the, this is Bethesda New Life Gospel Church. But now look at the fence if this truck moves. Look at the fence. Right there at their church, and they've got graffiti. Right there on the fence at their church.
Okay.
What does a flop house look like? Well, usually there's people out, you can see them hanging around all outside. It's usually run down. Doesn't always have to be.
Okay. We got Hasan slap. What's this?
Attitude is bullshit. Sorry you're losing. Like, this kind of attitude is bullshit. Sorry you're losing. You don't get to dictate shit is crazy. Okay? I don't entertain that stuff. A lot of people are like, Hasan, why don't you have this kind of attitude towards Hamas or whatever? But, like, I don't do that. The idea that, like, Ukraine doesn't get to dictate any sovereignty in this process because they're losing this war that they didn't deserve to go, get into by being invaded by a much larger regional power is ridiculous. Is ridiculous. They are the ones who are at worst being played as a proxy against a larger foreign adversary. They're stuck in the middle and they're cooked. No matter what happens.
Why? He was so close to a reasonable take. What? Okay.
They're just always going to be over. They were either going to be over by Russia or they were going to be over by the West. Right now, they're going to be over by both somehow. It's insane. Shouts out to Donald Trump for that one.
It almost sounded like he was going to have a reasonable take, but he somehow found a way to both sides the invasion of Ukraine. Good job. You did it. Base King. What is this? Wait, why did this happen? What was this? If you'd like turn on the microwave or if like the phone would ring, these speakers would always... Why was that? Wait, is it... SMS signals, GSM buzz? Oh, is that it? Bad cable shielding? I feel like these speakers always put out such weird fucking noise. Okay, based.
Transition and talk about the Pete. We could transition and talk about the Pete PodSave interview because I think this fits with this conversation and his response on some basic questions about where you stand on Israel and Palestine.
Pete Buttigieg savaged for pathetic, empty Israel answers.
At this point, like, if you're John Fetterman or you're Richie Torres and you're just like, I'm the AIPAC guy and I'm all about that life and I'm going to cape for Israel no matter what and I'm going to make sure that money's coming in on my side. Okay, I think it's disgusting. I think it's morally atrocious. I hope history judges you quite harshly for that. But I can at least understand the political logic to that. The one that is perplexing to me is the people who will go halfway. They'll vote, for example, Bernie offered 2 amendments that you could vote.
This is what's perplexing to me. People that are politically pragmatic, okay? That's what's perplexing to me.
For blocking offensive weapons. One of them was assault rifles and the other one was like bombs. You had some Democrats who would like vote for one and not the other. Right. What are you doing with that? The Israel lobby people, they're going to hate you. Like AIPAC is not going to support you if you diverge even 1 inch. And people who see this correctly as a genocide being perpetrated with our tax dollars and are horrified by babies being starved to death are not going to be too impressed with you being like, well, you can't have the assault rifles, but you can have the bombs. Or this position that, AOC and others have tried to lay out of, well, we're going to support the defensive weapons, but not the offensive weapons. People who are animated by this issue, which is increasingly, I think, a large driving factor within the Democratic base and completely one-sided at this point, as you're pointing out in the polls, in favor of, we have to stop this. Like, not only we have to stop funding this, like, we need to sanction Israel, we need total...
Is this an actual quote from Abraham Lincoln? I feel like I read this on... Was this on my side? But I read this, like, either yesterday or the day before, I feel like. A compass, I learned while I was surveying. It'll point you true north from where you're standing, but it's got no advice about the swamps, deserts, and chasms that you'll encounter along the way. If, in pursuit of your destination, you plunge ahead heedless of obstacles and achieve nothing more than to sink in a swamp, What's the use of knowing true north? Is that a real Lincoln quote? I mean, it applies here, but...
Totally different approach to all of this. They're not going to be impressed with your like, well, the offensive weapons, no, but the defensive weapons, yes. And well, I'm concerned, but maybe it's not a genocide. And actually, it's just Netanyahu. And if we could just get him out of there, you know, I don't know who that is. Like, who is that for? What is the, put it the morality.
Yeah. Who is that for? When everything is so black and white, who are you possibly appealing to? Couldn't possibly be the voters, right? We got a virtue signal on YouTube.
Side. Like, what is the political benefit from trying to position yourself in this manner? And it just doesn't make any sense to me. And it's crazy to me that there's no obvious 2028 candidate for the Democrats who are just like...
It's crazy to me that there's not a 2028 candidate for the Democrats. We're not even through midterms yet. Excuse me? What?
Occupying the Zoran lane of I'm in favor of BDS. I am an avowed anti-Zionist. I'm not afraid to talk about it. I think it's a genocide. I think we should arrest Netanyahu if he comes to the country. It's mind-boggling to me, Ryan, that there is no one who is occupying that lane at this point.
Yeah, Ro Khanna probably getting...
Oh, that comes from the movie Lincoln, gotcha.
Closest to it. But yeah, you were referencing the Pete Buttigieg interview with PodSave yesterday, which actually kind of dunked on him for. And Buttigieg was trending after this interview.
Because I'm in favor of all Maoist third worldist emancipatory movements. Okay,
my bad.
So bad. So let's play, and we'll do a little trivia for viewers here. We'll play this clip, and you tell us what Pete Buttigieg thinks should be American policy towards Israel. This is B7. Sorry to be out of order here.
Okay.
More than half of Senate Democrats just voted to oppose the sale of over $500 million worth of U.S. bombs and guns to Israel. Would you have voted to oppose sending those weapons?
I think we need to insist that if American taxpayer funding is going to weaponry that is going to Israel, that is not going to things that shock the conscience. And look, we see images every day that shock the conscience. So much of this is complicated. But what's not complicated is that if a child is starving because of a choice made by a government, that is unconscionable. And I think especially, including voices who care about Israel, who believe in Israel's right to exist, who have stood with Israel in response to the unbelievable cruelty and terrorism of October 7th. I think that there's a reason why so many of those voices are speaking up now, too, because this is not just something that is on its face and in itself a moral catastrophe. It is also a catastrophe for Israel for the long run.
How do you think the next administration should handle our relationship with Israel? Do you think it should change based on what Netanyahu has done the last several years?
Well, certainly Netanyahu can't be the only voice or the only compass for what should happen in the U.S.-Israel relationship. And no matter how strongly, or especially because of how strongly you might believe in Israel's right to exist and defend itself, you don't have to make excuses for the choices that Netanyahu is making, especially because they are often made not only in the name of the Israeli people, but in the name of a U.S. alliance. I think that we, as Israel's strongest ally and friend, you put your arm around your friend when there's something like this going on and talk about what we're prepared to do together. And it certainly cannot be what we see right now from this administration and this president talking about beachfront property in Gaza before he's prepared to talk about human suffering in Gaza.
So, I mean, he's not really giving a specific policy. That was a very political answer, to be fair. Like empty. There's not much going on there. Genuine question. What's the xenophobic /WS take on indigenous /native? What's WS? White supremacist take on indigenous /native people? Obviously, they hate them, but I have to imagine the reasoning's different than, say, immigrants. What my guess is white supremacists or neo-Nazis probably don't care much at all about Native Americans. They can keep their land, keep their reservations. I doubt they'd care much. I don't think my guess is they wouldn't give a fuck much about it.
So the question started, hey, Kat. The question started with sending weapons to Israel. So trivia question, pop quiz. How does Buttigieg feel about weapons to Israel?
I mean, the truth is...
I mean, if you want to be charitable... Well, realistically, he didn't really say much at all. If you want to be super uncharitable, you'd say he wants no restrictions on Israel. That's not a fair rating. If you want to be more charitable, and he says, when he mentions like things that don't shock the conscious, then it sounds like providing them with weapons that allow the Iron Dome or the fucking Pete's fucking sling or whatever bullshit to function is probably okay. But money towards whatever the invasion of Gaza, I don't know. I mean, I feel like the money's fungible, so I don't know how you even differentiate between this. If they don't have to spend money on their defensive systems, then they can probably spend more money on their whatever war shit. But nobody wants to take David's sling, not Pete's sling, whatever. Nobody wants to take a hard stance on like telling Israel what they can or cannot do because we're all cucked.
I think we do know from the non-answer. I think if the answer was yes, we should block the weapons, we would have gotten that answer. The truth is he understands, because Pete's not a stupid guy, as we all know. He understands where the Democratic base is and wants to sort of signal his empathy for that position without actually taking a position that would put him at odds with, where some of his donor base is. And you can only, when I ask the question, like, who is this for? In Pete's example, we know exactly who it's for. This is donor maintenance. That's what he's doing here. And he thinks, because he's a very slippery operator, that at this point, he can get away with sort of like restating the question and evincing empathy for the position without actually explaining where he is. And I hope what he and I hope everybody else is learning is that is not going to cut it. And there's so much about his answer, Ryan, that just disgusts me. First of all, Palestinians are being murdered every day, and we still have to center what's
there's a genocide
good for Israel. Can we just care that babies are being starved to death and that our government is complicit? Can we just care about the fact that people are being massacred just trying to seek aid every day in the Gaza Strip? Is that okay? Or do I need to worry first and foremost about how Israelis are feeling about this and what this means for the future of Israel? I find that posture to be morally grotesque at this point. Second of all, and it ties into that, moral atrocity, in my opinion, is this idea that it's just Netanyahu who's the problem and he can't be the only voice here. Oh, really? Well, he's not the only voice. Every poll you look at says, you know what, Israeli society, they're on board with this. By and large, now there are some, how should we approach the hostage? There is some dissent, but by and large, do they care about what is being done to Palestinians? By and large, the answer is no. Not to mention.
What are we saying here? What's the solution? Is that a bad word to use here?
The people who are really driving the ship oftentimes in terms of Netanyahu and his coalition are the most psycho extremists, Ben Gvir and Smotrich. Not to mention the so-called opposition figures who are supposedly more moderate say equally horrific and genocidal things. Like this idea that liberals love to hold on to that, it's just the fascist Netanyahu who's the problem. If we just got him out of there, then everything could revert to normal is a lie. I mean, I can't even say it's a fantasy because I don't believe that he believes that. It's just a total and complete lie that he thinks allows him to maintain what is now a completely untenable position of thinking that liberalism and Zionism can coexist.
And to that point,
okay,
in polls for the next Israeli government, of the top four, you got Netanyahu, and then the three below that. The three below are to Netanyahu's right. So this idea that you're going to moderate that he doesn't represent the full spectrum is just not accurate. A bunch of things jumped out in that quote. One of them was this fear he has of naming Israel.
Right. All this passive language.
One of his quotes was, "If a child is starving because of a choice made by a government." A government. Which government?
Which government?
Which government is that? And I think I've seen you make this point, and I'm seeing normie Democrats who not a top issue for them making it also, which is that they want to see somebody good on this issue because they don't want children starved. But more importantly, they want somebody who has moral fiber. And they believe that this is a proxy, that if...
So she's implying all Israelis are bad? No! She's just outright saying it. She wasn't implying it. She was just saying it there.
...for them, making it also, which is that they want to see somebody good on this issue because they don't want children starved. But more importantly, they want somebody who has moral fiber. And they believe that this is a proxy, that if they're willing to stand up against the special interests that are pushing them to be bad on this issue, and they're still good on it, they're still willing to stand up,
say special
then that means
interests?
they're going to be willing to stand up for democracy. They're going to be willing to stand up for people. Ta-Nehisi Coates had the great line that says, if you can't draw the line of genocide, why should I trust that you're actually going to stand up for democracy? And I think that
that's exactly right.
When people hear him say a child starving because of a choice made by a government, you sound scared. You sound weak. And no, we don't want scared and weak people now. And your point about restating the question is a good one too. And in the next clip, he does precisely that. I hadn't noticed that tick until you mentioned it. But here, let's play B7B, where he's asked about recognition of a Palestinian state.
Do you think it's time to recognize a Palestinian state?
I think that's a profound question that arouses a lot of the biggest problems that have happened with Israel's survival, Israel's right to survival in the diplomatic scene. And many of the people who've taken that step historically have done so for different reasons than what we see happening with European countries. I think we need to step back and we need to do whatever it takes to ensure that there is a real two-state solution and that no one, not even the likes of Netanyahu, can veto the international community's commitment to a two-state solution where you have Palestinians and Israelis living with safety, with security, with rights. I believe that can happen, but we have to actually show some commitment to it.
I mean, he's kind of right, but that's also a kind of an empty answer, right? He's not really saying anything.
So that's a profound question. Yeah,
my Pete hatred is so vindicated. Yes. It's so vindicated.
Neither of these two have a realistic solution as well, though, right? They don't know anything about what would actually look like well, they probably both want a single state with an infinite right of return, and then the genocide or ethnic cleansing of all Jews from the newly created state of Palestine back to Brooklyn, I guess.
Yeah, it's a profound question that arouses a lot of the biggest questions, Ryan. That's what that is.
That's what that is.
Cool, thanks.
So Ro Khanna, who has been floated as a 2028 candidate.
By who? What? No offense, sorry. But no? What? Yeah, no.
Did not appreciate that response. You can put it the next element. He says, I respect Pete. He diverges from you there. He says, I respect Pete, but we need moral clarity, not status quo. Yes, John Favreau, Dems should have voted for the Sanders Amendment. So there's an answer to the question. Yes, Dems should join my letter recognizing a Palestinian state. Again, an answer to the question. Yes, Trump and Biden disastrously failed on Gaza, and we need a new human rights-centered vision. So if you believe that Kana is testing the waters for 2028, his political sensibilities are sensing here that there is a lane here, that you can go after Trump and Biden here.
Good luck.
And you can stand up here, you can go after other Democrats, and that Democratic voters will be with you. You think I can't think of anybody else who's kind of dipped their toes in these waters who's being more clear than him, which is kind of disturbing.
Yeah, and and I personally think Roe needs to go farther. I think he needs to acknowledge the international consensus that it's a genocide.
Even Ro Khanna's not far enough for these guys. Oh my God.
So even with him, I think people, to your point, they don't want to see you tiptoeing around. Right? They don't want to feel like they're getting Weasley slippery answers, which is what you get overwhelmingly with Pete. And Roe is miles better. Like, it's not even close. I think you're right. He is leading in terms of the candidates who are sort of positioning themselves for 2028 and his approach of this issue. It seems to have some understanding of the way that this is functioning as a moral litmus test, even above and beyond the horrors that we see with Gaza. But, it also, I think what is notable in particular about Roe's tweet is not just he directly answers the question. That's kind of nice. But then he says it's Trump and Biden. And I do think part of the reason that some Democrats are tying themselves into knots and not wanting to, take these votes or give direct answers or whatever is because they're implicated. And they don't want to say, you know what, they were right. Biden and Harris were complicit in a genocide. I mean, that's a tough pill for them to swallow. And then they have to go back and look at, well, what votes did I take during that time period? And what is my responsibility to make right for my own complicity here? And I think that is, separate and apart from the money and the influence of that, which is obviously very, very real.
Yeah, for sure.
I think there's also a lack of desire to look backwards, take accountability for one's actions, and critically to have responsibility for ending this going forward. Because if you say it's a genocide, then that would indicate, as someone who is in an elected position of power, you have a lot of responsibility, especially given our government support for that genocide, to go above and beyond the call of duty to try to end these horrors. And I think that many of these Democrats don't want that responsibility on their shoulders, that historic weight, because that's what it is, to rest on their shoulders.
And from a pure cynical political perspective, the numbers make it not difficult. I mentioned that 8% earlier. We can put up B9 here. Here's a tweet from Anel Shalin, who was one of the State Department resignees. She resigned in protest. So this is 32% of Americans approving of Israel's military actions. Among Democrats, the number is down to 8%, and among independents, the number is 25%. And among Republicans, it's 71%. If you look at young Republicans, it's way, way down. Among that 25% of independents, you're going to have a decent number of people who are older Republicans but call themselves independents. And pollsters understand this phenomenon. There's the same with Democrats. There's a portion of people who call themselves independents who operate just like partisan Democrats, and same with partisan Republicans. So true independents, the number's going to be much less than 25%. But among Democrats, 8% support. That is, politicians are always looking for 70-30 issues or 80-20 issues. It's rare they get a 92-8 issue where most of their opponents or their adversaries in the primary are with the 8%.
Yeah.
This is a chance to be with the 92.
Chance of a lifetime for someone.
There's such a thing as political gravity that is going to bring this all down at some point.
I feel like that. I do feel like that. And, there's a kind of a beltway conventional wisdom that, foreign policy doesn't really matter. People don't vote based on foreign policy.
They don't.
I don't really know how you live through the fallout from the Iraq War and continue to hold that view, let alone, prior to our time, the Vietnam War. Yeah. And still feel, people don't really care about foreign policy. Because not only is it important in terms of, international stability and young men in particular being sent off to fight and die in these wars by, mostly rich people sitting in Washington, D.C., but it does speak to these larger moral questions. And on the Democratic side, it really exposes the hypocrisy about a party that tries to position itself as the champion of democracy and liberal human rights, that you're still standing in lockstep with this rogue nation. Committing genocide and bombarding all of its neighbors in this hyper-aggressive fashion that we're actively supporting and participating in. And on the Republican side, it really exposes the hypocrisy of the idea that this administration would be America first and that American interests would be the priority first and foremost. So, and in both instances, it really serves as a litmus test for who is willing to have a shred of integrity.
Someone said they were sweeping for Russia.
But the problem with the schizophrenia of the Russia policy is that you can basically look into this whatever you want. And I know I'm dwelling on this, but it's very important if you follow the details. So on the one hand, we're shipping weapons and we're taking more hawkish views than Biden. On the other, we're now meeting with Putin. But listen, I agree, I'm all for meeting, but all of the concrete policy has drifted in the wrong direction. Yeah. We're shipping weapons, we're doing more sanctions, and we're basically demanding that Russia pull back, from whatever it's Donetsk or whatever province exactly that they want to fully control, along with the two capitals, which they say the Ukrainians need to withdraw from. At the same time, we are not really doing much to quell the European and Ukrainian delusions that all their territory is ever coming back. Every day that the war continues, they lose territory. This is an empirical fact. And you can look at the realities of the battlefield on the ground. We could ship them everything that we don't have strapped to the ground that isn't going to start a nuclear war, and they would still lose. They would just lose slower. Yeah. And so that's the question of what material interest does the United States have in all this?
Well, and not only that, so that the territory is one.
Why don't we ever say this about the Palestinians? Just curious. Why don't we ever say that? Because they don't seem to be doing too hot in their war. No.
piece and one gigantic stumbling block. But then you also have to ask, okay, well,
you understand, like, not to be an asshole, but Ukrainians have more of a right to their territory than Palestinians do to the Gaza Strip. What is the argument for them to not just have all the Palestinians flee the Gaza Strip, right? Every day that drags on is just worse for the Palestinians, no?
What were the underlying conditions that led to Russia's invasion?
Of course.
And this is, again, not to deny Russia's agency and that they shouldn't have done it and all of those sorts of things. But you also have to understand their perspective and what led to this aggressive action. And, you know, the NATO eastward expansion, the idea that Ukraine could be part of NATO, our efforts to pull Ukraine into a European sphere versus having Ukraine be...
Oh, all of it was the West's fault. Oh, all of it. Russia has no agency. Notice how our enemies never have any autonomy. Notice how Hamas just has to rape and murder people, and the Palestinians just have to do terrorist attacks, and Russia just has to invade Ukraine, and Russia just has to conquer territory, and like they never have any agency.
Neutral party. Those are the underlying conditions that led to this provocative and, yes, illegal action from Russia.
Why is it that we never bring up what actually happened? Like, you understand there was a cause and effect. Like, we can see, like, imagine you have a dead person in a hospital, and somebody's like, they smoked for 35 years. True. They didn't exercise much. They were overweight. True. They worked in the coal mines growing up. True. Their parents bullied them a lot growing up. Led to a lot of mental health, defects. True. But imagine when the person came to the hospital, they have like a giant fucking shotgun explosion in their head. They killed themselves, right? Are we not going to mention that at all for why they might be dead, right? The invasion of Crimea happened after Yanukovych was ousted from the country, after he fled. How do we bring up all these other things and not that? Why do we always seem to miss that? That was the inciting event. Why do we always miss that? Like, that's what happened that caused that caused Crimea to be captured by Russia.
Led to Russia's invasion.
Of course.
And this is, again, not to deny Russia's agency and that they shouldn't have done it and all of those.
I mean, you just did.
Those sorts of things. But you also have to understand their perspective and what led to this aggressive action. And, the NATO eastward expansion, the idea that Ukraine could be part of...
When did NATO last expand?
NATO,
Ukraine was not joining NATO.
Efforts to pull Ukraine into a European sphere versus...
European sphere. We weren't pulling them in. Ukrainians wanted to join the European Union's market. Not even joining the EU, but just having a trade deal with the European Union.
Is having Ukraine be a neutral party. Those are the efforts to pull Ukraine into a European sphere versus having Ukraine be a neutral party.
What do you mean a neutral party? They're not allowed to just make trade deals? Like Russia gets to dictate that?
Those are the underlying conditions that led to this provocative and, yes, illegal action from Russia. So is the Trump administration going to be serious about dealing with those underlying conditions? You also, we talk a lot about, and understandably so, okay, if we made a deal with Putin, can we trust Putin? They have to be asking the same question. Can they trust us?
Of course.
I mean, look at the way our country in general operates, not just under Donald Trump, but look specifically at how Donald Trump operates. There's no reason for them to trust us and our good faith in any negotiation. Just look at how we've acted with Israel
with Iran also.
And Iran.
With Israel and Iran? I don't understand what you're talking about. Well, I mean, we had the nuclear deal with Iran. We pulled out of it. That was really bad, for sure. I think there is a legitimate question to ask about Donald Trump and whether or not he can be trusted. But this is Russia. I don't think we normally just completely back out of agreements or fuck over Russia. Like even Trump has been relatively consistent there in terms of we're not just randomly attacking Russia or doing crazy things.
There's no reason for them to trust us and our good faith in any negotiation. Just look at how we've acted with Israel
with Iran also.
and Iran. Exactly. We use the pretext of diplomatic negotiations to launch an offensive, aggressive war.
Do you think we're going to launch an aggressive, offensive war? I hate her and Kyle Kalinske. Fuck, don't ever let me get gaslit. Don't ever let me get gaslit by my fucking audience.
What a fucking liar, dude. What a fucking Weasley little liar, dude.
Do not let these people trick you with their lukewarm domestic takes, okay? Their foreign policy is so dog shit. You cannot trust either of these motherfuckers, any of these motherfuckers. It's actually unhinged, bro. Holy shit.
Against the Iranians. So why would any country in the world, and certainly not an adversarial one like Russia, trust that we're coming to the table in good faith? So when we were talking about how much of a problem that was, that we used the pretext of diplomatic negotiations, it wasn't just about what the fallout would be with regard to Iran. It was also about how will we be able to approach these other high-stakes diplomatic negotiations and have anyone take our word for anything. So that also remains, a major issue going into this head-on.
I said that so much at the time. I was like, does anybody understand what it means to use diplomatic negotiations as a ruse? I was like, by the way, Iran is small ball compared to Russia and to Ukraine. And I don't think that there's any...
Yeah, that means that you don't treat them as seriously because they're small ball. Just because you might fuck over a smaller nation doesn't mean you'd fuck over a larger one, right? Russia would invade Georgia. Russia would invade I guess Moldova, Russia would invade Ukraine. Russia's not going to invade any of the NATO countries. Why are we using the small ball here as an example of what might happen with larger players? Like,
any mistake that Putin, at every turn when Trump is like 50 days, he's like, yeah, okay, I'm just going to keep bombing Kyiv.
Yeah.
And then the next day, they're like 12 days. He's like, yeah, okay,
Sure,
I'm just going to keep bombing. He's like, what are you going to do about it? I'm a nuclear armed state with 9,500 nuclear warheads. Go for it. You can put all the deals or whatever you want on the table. Here's the vice president talking about the issue recently in an interview. Let's take a listen.
Fundamentally, this is something where the president needs to force President Putin and President Zelensky really to sit down to figure out their differences. We have a lot of economic points of leverage, and we're willing to use those to bring about peace. And that was a big thing that happened. To your point about weapons, what we said to the Europeans is simply, first of all, this is in your neck of the woods. This is in your back door. You guys have got to step up and take a bigger role in this thing. We're done with the funding of the Ukraine war business. We want to bring about a peaceful settlement to this thing. We want to stop the killing. But Americans, I think, are sick of continuing to send their money, their tax dollars to this particular conflict. But if the Europeans want to step up and actually buy the weapons from American producers, we're okay with that, but we're not going to fund it ourselves anymore.
Yeah, with great respect, that's the Biden policy, right? I mean, the Biden policy was just U.S. and Europeans. Remember the talking point of like, oh, it's going to be great for the U.S. economy. I'm like, oh, really? The defense dollars, of course, are widely distributed across our economy. So we're dealing.
Did Biden say that? Did I miss that? Did Biden say that war in Ukraine was going to be great for the U.S. economy? What was the talking point there? What?
With that, we've also got Zelensky sounding off here. And look, I understand, it's an emotional thing for the Ukrainians and for a lot of Ukraine supporters here in America, but you need to deal with reality. You're a small country, you're up against a nuclear armed power. It's a non-NATO nation. There's no obligation for the United States.
Hold on. I'm so sorry.
So got Zelensky sounding off.
Let's count how many of these count for Palestine. Ready?
Here. And look, I understand, it's an emotional thing for the Ukrainians and for a lot of Ukraine supporters here in America, but you need to deal with reality. You're a small country, you're up against a nuclear armed power. It's a non-NATO nation. There's no obligation for the United States to defend you. And you're drawing lines in the sand, which were ridiculous on the day that the war started and Crimea was already overtaken, and frankly, like delusional in the year 2025. But here's what Zelensky had to say.
How does this not map on one-to-one? What is it? Are the three brain cells in Crystal's brain on break during this segment? She doesn't think for a second,
Say in response, he says, quote, Ukraine is ready for final decisions that can bring peace. Any decisions that are against us, any decisions that are without Ukraine are at the same time decisions against peace. They will not achieve anything. These are stillborn decisions. They are unworkable decisions, and we all need real and genuine peace. Peace that the people will respect. Basically saying that anything that Ukraine does not sign off on is one that is completely bunk and will, of course, not stand up. Now, here's the issue, with that, is that the Ukrainian position is one that is, again, it is completely delusional. Let me read here specifically from the Ukrainian and European counter ceasefire proposal. What they say is that in a joint statement from the Europeans, as well from Germany, the UK, and France, is all that any diplomatic end must protect Ukraine and Europe's security interests, but that specifically their ceasefire proposal, quote, crucially the European plan, which presented to all of...
Hold on, I'm sorry, I have to correct the record on this. I'm sorry, hold on, because it's not that bad. It's worse. You're saying, Destiny, these people in the Young Turks are the only ones eating up a dictator's words. Anna started parroting Iranian talking points right after the war began, like plus 20 years of history never existed, Iran, blah, blah, blah. It's not even that they parrot the enemy's talking points. The talking points are even dumber. They're even more stupid. Like, I go back to like the human shields example for Hamas or whatever, where, people like Hasan will say, oh, they don't booby trap stuff. Oh, they don't have war tunnels. Oh, they don't. And Hamas will be like, yeah, we do. And they're based and they're awesome. And we'll fight from these forever. Allah Akbar, motherfuckers. Like, or, like Russia's not saying like, oh my God, like we had to invade because there was so much pressure from all of the NATO expansion. We knew that if we do it immediately, right? No, it's you ousted our fucking guy and we share one spirit and one soul, the Ukrainian Russian people. Like how that huge talk that he had with Tucker Carlson, did he bring up NATO a single time? Or was it all this like historical monologuing? Like,
well, the Americans stipulates that any territorial concession by
he might have. I don't remember. It's been a long time since I watched a Tucker interview. It was like I watched like half of it. So
safeguarded by ironclad security guarantees, including quote potential NATO membership for Ukraine. And it just doesn't make any sense to give NATO membership for Ukraine in a war that started at least in part because of a NATO invitation for Ukraine to join NATO. I already know.
Like, what are we talking about?
The neocons and all these other people will get very upset about this, but like, look at the history of it. Ukraine has always been a linchpin of Russia's security strategy. I'm not saying it's legitimate. It just has been. It has been.
That's crazy because from 91 and onwards, I remember Ukraine being its own independent country. That's what I remember.
Recognized from the beginning of the expansion of NATO by George Kennan, by Bill Burns, who was a previous CIA director under Joe Biden. They all said in writing, they're like, look, even expanding into the Baltics is a problem, but Ukraine must always remain off the table. And then if we look at the exact moment that U.S.-Russia relations completely flipped on a dime was when the Munich Security Conference of 2007. That is very around the time that we invite Georgia and Ukraine to enter NATO. And what does Putin do in 2008? Does everybody remember? It was like, what was it, Putin at the Beijing Olympics, I think in 2008, while the Russians march into Georgia. And now similarly here with Ukraine, where Kamala and the Biden administration were making a lot of steps towards actually formalizing Ukraine into NATO. And then lo and behold, we got to find ourselves.
Remember, to join NATO, every single member state has to agree. There was never a world where Ukraine was joining NATO. This is just fucking ridiculous.
In a war, not just justify the war, it's just reality. And it's one where, I understand Ukraine's like, well, how can we ever, want peace? I'm like, listen, your victory is you get to live. You get to live to fight another. You get to keep 80% of your country. That's a decent deal considering all.
Like, yeah, Judea and Samaria have always been a linchpin of Israeli security strategy. The West Bank has always been essential. The Gaza Strip has always been essential not to have weapons shipped in for terrorist attacks.
The amount of money and, the amount of lies that everybody has expended.
And Israel has a better argument. Israel even has a better argument than Russia does here. I'm sorry, how many rockets are being launched daily from fucking Ukraine into Russia? What the fuck?
Yes, it's easy for me to say here from Washington, but we're the global superpower. We're the ones at the end of the day who get to decide how the conflict ends. And, if you want otherwise, well, get some nuclear weapons. I don't really know what else to say to you.
Yeah.
Zelensky, he's a serious problem.
Yeah, no, he is a problem at this point. I mean, I think he has this Hollywood conception of like, he's the main character and there's a glorious happy ending in which all the, evil is vanquished and good prevails and he doesn't have to budge a single inch off his position.
Oh, kind of like you with the whole Palestinian thing, right? Kind of exactly like you with the whole Palestinian thing.
And there's a glorious happy ending in which all the, evil is vanquished and good prevails and he doesn't have to budge a single inch off his position. And, Biden certainly fed into that delusion. Now Trump has as well. After the whole like bullying in the Oval Office, then Zelensky ends up getting all of the things that he ultimately wanted. And I think it speaks to Trump's persona and the way he approaches these things. Like, I think he believed, he thinks everything's like a freaking real estate negotiation. And then you can just get in a room and you can, get some rapport with the various players and figure out some kind of a deal that's going to work. And so he used his typical tactics of like public bluster and, the theatrical display in the Oval Office. And when that didn't work, now it's just kind of a mess. Like, it's hard to even say what the administration's position is. Remember the whole minerals deal? Like, whatever came of that? What does that even mean in all of this going forward? Is that even a real thing? Who knows? So, yeah, I think it's a real wild card what could come out of this, but I'm not particularly hopeful, just to set expectations, and I would love to be proven wrong. We'll see. But the other piece is that it is very difficult to end wars. It shouldn't be that way, but it is. We saw what happened with Biden, the pullout of Afghanistan. It's a very difficult political thing to do. And you really have to...
What? Biden and the pullout of Afghanistan had nothing difficult to do with ending a war. Technically, everything worked in terms of the... Like, it wasn't the... Do people not realize that it wasn't the Taliban that blew up, that did that bombing? It was ISIS? Do people think that it was the Taliban that attacked U.S. troops on the way out? Like, the mess was... the pullout was chaotic. For sure, because nobody expected everything to fall apart that quickly because of how fucking stupid the agreement was in place. But it's not like the Taliban were shooting at American troops. It's not like the Taliban bombed us. It was ISIS.
To lay a lot of narrative groundwork for the public to understand why the stated position of the American government of both administrations, so basically like Ukraine's going to get everything and we're not going to give an inch, why you're going to end up with a result that is significantly different than that. Why there are going to be so many concessions after all of the support that we've given Ukraine over the years. And there also hasn't really been any narrative built to prepare people for that eventuality. I think Trump is intelligent enough to know that there are many likely deals that could be done with Russia that would be pretty unpalatable to the American public.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. This is a propagandistic thing, too, where you have to look at mass media. And this explains the Israel situation as well. If you watch Fox News, Churchill and Zelensky are of the same ilk. As like there's no difference between them. The Ukrainians are freedom fighters. The Russians are committing genocide. I mean, I'm not joking. This is literally what they say.
I mean, that's what hasn't it been overdetermined at this point? Or like Russia, because of all the abducted children? Did the UN... No, it's the ICJ. I'm sorry. Is this like basically done yet, or is it still working its way through? It might still be working its way through. Oh, I think it might still be working its way through. But I mean, just as much as the genocide claims in Israel-Gaza are working their way through, right?
Over there. And the most politically palatable thing to do is to do exactly what we did with Afghanistan, which is just chunk as much money into the war for as long as humanly possible, slowly erode, and the mission continues to fail, but everybody just kind of moves on with their life because they don't want to deal with reality. And, that, by the way, includes many of the Ukrainians. Let's go and put A7, please, up on the screen, because this is very important, and this is from very recently. Ukraine's support for its own war effort is collapsing. And this is very similar to the Afghan situation, where the people who actually have to do the fighting are like, yeah, I'm not so sure about this. Like, look, we'll take your money, that pays for a lot of nice condos in Dubai, but for the rest of it, not so sure. So check this out. Ukraine's appetite for the war and support of a negotiated peace. Back in 2022, some 22% said that Ukraine should seek to negotiate an ending to the war as soon as possible. Just 22%. Today, that is 69% of Ukrainians. This is a Gallup poll. And only 24% said, quote, Ukraine should continue fighting until it wins the war, whereas in 2022, it was some 73%. And that's because the reality of combat and also of what the war is setting in. 60-year-olds are now being allowed to join the Ukrainian war effort. 60-year-olds are now being, with no age limit whatsoever on the number of people in. Millions of the country have fled. The richest and most powerful Ukrainians are not fighting this war. They're long gone. They're living, I saw them in the hotels in Budapest and in Vienna. They're living the high life. Don't worry. And a lot of...
Sure. So he's such a subhuman, disgusting fuck. Oh my God,
still
dude.
Actually printed money off of the corruption from the U.S. money that continues.
Yeah, true.
in the hotels in
And to think that this guy is still like an actual Donald Trump dick suck at this point as well. Like he's actually subhuman.
And in Vienna, they're living the high life. Don't worry. And a lot of them still are actually printing money off of the corruption from the U.S. money that continues to flow into the country. By the way, if you want to find out about that corruption, good luck to you. Let's go ahead and put A9, please, on the screen. You know, again, the Western media basically ignored it. You know, there are a few stories here every once in a while, but Ukraine's, quote, new anti-corruption law led to the biggest protests in Ukraine since the beginning of the war. Why? Because the parliament and Zelensky both approved legislation, quote, restoring the independence of the country's two main anti-corruption bodies. But in reality, what it did is that inside, Zelensky and others basically allowed they basically allowed the new laws to go into place where you had the anti-corruption watchdogs come under attack. They reversed some of them, but the point is that it was seen as a widely authoritarian law to cover up much of the corruption for allegedly this democratic haven, you know, in Europe, which, you know, not only was the most corrupt country in all of Europe before the outbreak of the war, but Zelensky himself, of course, has canceled elections.
The law was stopped. Yeah, I like how they can actually reverse their laws because at least they still try to do things legally, like through their parliament, as opposed to the United States, where Donald Trump just infinitely fights all of our courts on every single court thing constantly, and then fights the process and the procedure constantly, and tries to use presidential powers constantly without looking to his Congress for literally fucking anything at all. But, you know, and Ukraine at least has some kind of an excuse because they're in a fucking war. In the United States, we have no excuse. We just have a bunch of fucking retards like this that support the God Emperor Trump no matter what.
And he has huge opposition actually inside of the country. And worst of all, actually, is that if you did want some sort of end to the war, is that back in 2022, Ukraine passed a piece of legislation through its parliament basically saying that any, you know, quote, negotiation or surrender or whatever has to be approved by referendum. But of course, the circumstances of the referendum are up to the government and, of course, in the wording in the way that it would all go out. So the government and all of them have plenty of tools available to them to nix any sort of deal. And then what can they say? Like, oh, we tried, our people won't go for it, and then what's America going to do? Trump, at the end of the day, like you said, he's not going to cut them off. He just thinks it'll be politically unpalatable. It probably will be, to be honest. And so that leads to what? You know, just a continuation of the war. And, you know, as if you're actually horrified by the violence and the killing, well, then you actually want to bring it to an end, and that will require something actually quite unpalatable. We could get there if media had reported properly, and also if the government had had a consistent narrative from day one on Ukraine, but they haven't. They're all over the place.
They are all over the place. So we'll watch it closely, see, you know, if there are any positive indications out of this. But, you know, there's not a lot of groundwork that has been laid to create the likelihood of a positive outcome, is how I would put it.
Afghanistan was the same way. I mean, it's like it snuck up on everybody because nobody was paying attention, and everybody just assumed, they'll kick the can down the road, and they're not actually going to do it. Biden finally was like, no, I'm not going to do it. We're out. And, you know, we all saw how that worked. So it's not good. It's not good the way that this all works. And of course, you know that if Ukraine has to give up even one scrap of Eastern.
Should we still be in Afghanistan? What is his point here? What?
Ukraine, Fox News, CNN, and all these other people are going to be united, and now this is the greatest travesty since Munich. And then what will that lead to? More boomer support, and of course, more pressure over at the White House from the guy who only watches Fox News to get his feeling on the pulse.
And who put way too many neocons in his administration also. Yeah, and who has no, you know, ideological core himself and is very much buffeted by whoever is in his ear at that moment.
Absolutely. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get.
What is this? Loader box reflects on streaming politics and maybe calling it quits.
I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. I just don't really have that much interest in making content right now. Like that's where I currently am. I don't really care that much for it. I don't really like the discourse or the communities or the fucking other people involved. Like I don't really like any of it right now. So I mean, I like learning, so I'll do that. But I learn best when I'm not reading shit out loud on stream. I'm getting distracted. So kind of just vibing here until something clicks. Maybe I'll decide to retire early, or maybe I'll decide to do content in a slightly different way. That's probably where we are now.
Rip. Rough life for Lonerbox because he got targeted. He was one of the first people to get targeted by Hasan, and then all of the surrounding crazy communities. Hold on. I don't know how much more this will grow now that Dan is doing his podcast with Mutin, but they're starting to go off on Mutin and his wife as well. The requested page cannot be found. Wait, what? Okay, whatever. I just made that album, but This is Justicle's Discord server. Watching the bot from last night. Is Moot really back into the orbit? Yeah, he's a podcast with Dan. He never really left. He was just getting ignored the entire time. Omega lol. LOL. Just checked his Russell logs. Something late as of today. I'm more surprised that Pichu didn't come out hard against Destiny. This guy almost missed his wedding to spread STDs in LA. Omega lol. The Clipper Miss Moon says, my best friend is not going to be at my wedding. Broke my heart. Also, by the way, Dan didn't go to that wedding. And secondly, that wedding was not in LA. Pretty sure it was in Canada. So funny how his community bullied him into going to the wedding. I feel this was a good showcase of his sociopathic tendencies. Based. Oh, hold on. We got... Kelly and Gisticle fighting. Gave Destiny an infinite W machine because he thought the BDP pussy was worth it. It better be worth it, Gisticle. I hope that Life Taker is worth it, dog. Just learned that little rat fuck was throwing me under the bus yesterday while whinging that Destiny doesn't attack me more. Literally at karaoke whilst this bitch is crying. We are all too quick to forget that Gisticle used to be the right-hand felcher. It has been 5 days since Destiny called me the most abusive person he knows again, by the way. He is dating Cherry. Literally nothing we could do to him is worse than what he does to himself. According to Gisticle, the person who said the worst, most vile shit about Destiny is me, which honestly seems like a personal slight towards Queeman, if nothing else. I thought Gisticle said he abused the women in his orbit, and now he's egging him on? I don't know. I don't understand that response. Fuck knows. The others told me he removed the emotes he had with my name on them yesterday. Oh, egging them on to insult Kelly. Fuck knows. The others told me he removed the emotes he had with my name on them yesterday, so I guess he had a tantrum over something. Kelly's the most abusive because she's the only one always bringing up the short man's weight he's very sensitive about. He removed the Kel smug. Imagine being gapped by Gisticle, an emote he came up with. Is the short man's weight, is that me or is that Gisticle? Imagine getting upset by people using your emote. Is Cherry giving him orders? Well, she does have Gisticle's balls now, so maybe, but I'm still going to blame his lack of spine. Kelly, this is your fault for not saving him from Cherry. Oh yes, he folds like a deck chair. What was I supposed to do? Take her out? No, those two are mentally ill, so when you attack their relationship / them, it just forces them together even more. I wonder if Gisticle has agents that blah, blah, blah. He is in here, isn't he? At Gisticle, fat bitch. Oh wait, this is in this might be in spicy chat. Maybe? At Gisticle, wrong account, let me help. Go cry some more about how Destiny doesn't insult me more when I haven't been on any fucking streams all month. Oh shit, thank you, LeMayo. Oop, Gisticle. Uh-oh. Is Kelly okay? No, stop crying about me, you unstable, mentally unwell man-child. Load 61 more images. Oh my goodness, 61 more images. Wait, I need a cooked one. That's not the cooked one, is it? Wait, I don't even think cooked makes sense here. I don't actually even know how that meme works. I just see in a lot of Instagram videos the cooked thing comes up. I don't know what it actually means. I don't know. I'm retarded. I don't care. We should check Kelly Jean's mental health right now. I have her blocked because she spams everywhere. Bombard her with texts telling her you love her to be sure. Just to have some experience with that. Uh-oh. What a bitch. Instantly going for the mental health check is crazy. Nodded. Say it to her face, Justical. Don't wait till she's out the house. Very feminine. Jessica says, more like for my well-being. I've heard she can get quite irate when men she's obsessed with refuse to speak to her. My doors aren't strong enough. I love how they all do this exclamation mark thing. No, I will defend Justical on this. Sending bitches to the mental hospital is a genius move. I thought if you blocked someone, you wouldn't get pings from them. I'm not fucking him, so I don't imagine this is a requirement. Oh, I see where he wants to go. Kelly is spitting fire right now. What a little bitch. Nobody wants to speak to you, you ugly, fat loser. Damn. But hey, if you want to go that low over being told not to cry about me, I guess I have no reason not to drop all the shit you told me. Uh-oh. Is she actually going to drop anything, or are we just getting more random memes where nothing is dropped? She's upset I removed emotes from my stream. Since it's relevant, here's a piece of information for you. Cherry flew to Canada without telling Justical or asking for his address for... Oh, no! What? I'm not sure how to engage with this. Silly fuck taking shots at me from his position. Please keep lying. Some here think you're credible. Oh no, he's accusing me of lying. LeMayo, oh no. Leak everything you've got right now, Kelly. Pepe laugh. This is so nodded, as I say. Does he think I would lie about that? The Pepe emote at the end. What an insane little troglodyte. Apparently, me saying Destiny stopped caring about Kelly the second she was mad at me meant I wanted Destiny to attack her? ? Very strange. Is that all you said? Wait, who's got logs of this? I feel like, didn't Justical say more? Like, why isn't Steven attacking Kelly more? What the fuck is happening? Who's the fat guy? Destiny is fat as Kelly Jean. I don't know why that's her name, but it does bother me a lot. I just want everybody to know that, okay? Is that all you said? But I'd like her to dump whatever she has to say here. The answer is no, by the way. That isn't all he said. Rhetorical question. Link. I mean, he just made a snipe at me over the one thing he knows will bother me, so he has caused this. Very odd choice on his part. Justical, care to explain this? Yeah, I called her the N-word. Yeah, she wrote it on her tits. What else do you want, man? I believe this on its face. It's exactly what he told me. No clue why he's saying it's a lie. Justical is saying it's a lie? Justical the weasel fuck? 1, didn't tell you that. Post logs. 2, it's an obvious lie. 3, post clip of me talking about you on stream. You guys fighting again? Aw, President Sunday. What gave it away? It was over VC, ? And you delete all your logs, you weird rat fuck. I imagine / reference it, like when I mentioned that Cherry sent you unsolicited nudes in the past, and you read my DMs and respond on stream. That's true. What? What is happening? I'm tired of this person constantly hinting I've told them things and trying to leak it. I'm telling her to leak whatever she has right now so I can just deal with it. Weird little man. Would that make Cherry an E-rapist? Isn't that kind of E-rape? Wasn't that the thing that Jessica was trying to argue for? Surely Kelly will substantiate anything she's saying here. This is spicy chat, by the way, 24/7. Although right now they're fighting with each other instead of constantly obsessively talking about me, which is nice. I'll take it. No, you accused me of leaking everything prior to us falling out. Now you've come to take shots at me from your position and have to resort to calling me a liar to save face. President Sunday, I think is a testament to just how broken the system is, that people like Kelly and Justical can subsist without being employed in a mine or a brothel, respectively. And I only include the brothel as an option because I don't think Justical has the stamina for mining. I did trust her, but she's ran out of ammo, so now she's making things up and embarrassing herself. Oh dear, this is embarrassing. Wow, I can't believe Destiny's a weird sex freak. Wow, I can't believe Cherry's mentally unstable. Wow, I can't believe Kelly is lying about me. Okay, Justical. Well, this shows me the kind of person you are, so that's good to know. Is she already done? Do you think he actually has her blocked, or? At Justical, did Kelly make up any stuff before, or is it something she just started recently? Makes you wonder. I can't remember all the stuff she said before. Some of it was true, for sure. I think what likely happened is that Justical said something very similar to what Kelly is claiming, but technically different. And since it was technically different, he's going to insist that Kelly is a liar and then fall back on it being slightly different if the truth ever comes back. Standard weasel fuck behavior. Oh, notice how they actually are aware of their tactics and how it works when they're talking about each other? Crazy, huh? I had to talk this dude down from spiraling over voice chat for hours because he didn't initially believe Cherry's recording was non-consensual, by the way. Oh, no! I can't believe I stuck up for his now girlfriend before he did. Kelly, LOL. She's so angry about one banging on a door comment that she's trying to feed Destiny info. Substantiate anything you're saying, Kelly. He made some comments like, why does Cherry sound closer? And I called him a retard that's freaking out over nothing. Ooh, You mean you were in a haze? Kelly gonna get an invite to come back on Destiny stream soon. She probably won't accept. Probably. Replenishing the roster. Maybe you should get your kidneys checked. You seem to be in a haze quite a bit. She was already doing this. What, she's already doing? Is Kelly coming back to stream? Is that happening? Depends on how mad you make her. I mean, it's entirely possible he lied to me, but I can only repeat the things he said. I've said none of these things. You're just making things up because you're upset. I believe Justical. I truly believe Trey was acting in a completely sane way before he had to get her committed. Many such cases with women. How do you feel about messages I have sent to other people about these situations? You felt it was adequate evidence in the Abby case, yes? Oh, no! Wait, these are juicy as fuck. Wait, what the fuck? Oh, no. Yep. Otherwise, if you want me to go through screenshots of my old account that you know is fucked, by all means, I can. Kelly is dumb, but she isn't any more dishonest than any of the rest of these freaks. If I had to take someone's word, I'd unfortunately have to go with Kelly's. He probably should have picked one thing to accuse me of lying about, because the non-consensual nudes thing lines up with a timestamp on the stream, and he didn't delete his logs from that day. LOL. Go ahead and post evidence. You all have no proof of anything. Regularly uses redact, proceeds to spam, post evidence, bro. Learn that one from Destiny or Dan. This does make me wonder if Justical is lying now to save face, or he lied to me originally to farm sympathy every time he fell out with Cherry, though. I think Justical is under the impression that standards of evidence help him when all that matters in this world is impressions, and he already has a reputation as a Destiny Gunt guardian. I don't even know what that means, but probably a mix of both. Wow. Will in his channel. Kelly, please get the other stuff out right now. Please leak anything else you've got. You're such a weirdo. You'd rather rage bait someone into leaking shit than apologizing like a normal person. So you're done? You're a spineless rat fuck loser, and if you're desperate for me to post screenshots of your embarrassing behavior, you'll have to wait for me to do it on my own time. Thank God. Oh, he's responding directly to her, so he unblocked her? Don't have to deal with this person saying, I could leak so much about this guy anymore. I wish I had stuff to leak about Kelly, but it was just dozens of pages of screenshots of random Discord chatters she wanted banned, and her crashing out about it. Sideways frowny face. The pickle and spin boy rule this woman's mind. Cherry slowly winning. Step 1, isolate the target from their opposite friends. I remember when Kelly blackmailed Jizz Tickler. I literally said nothing for a month, and you're crying that after provoking me intentionally, I shot back. Very weird! Exclamation mark. I think Kelly should address Jisticle's request for her to leak. Let me know if you need help with the dump. We should assume Jisticle's a lying fuck if a single post has been deleted. This is the DM. If he's desperate for me to link this to the same time in the VOD, I can. You told me Cherry sent you unsolicited nudes and how she was insane and schizo, and everything else you said in the various meltdowns in February. Oof. Oof. Uh-oh. You should really just dump your entire chat history. Please do blur any dick pics he sent. Does this make Cherry an e-rapist? Uh-oh. Oh, he's a rat fuck. He deletes everything, and he also knows my old account got fucked. So I'll have to go through his old chat logs, which is tedious. I delete my message history with you because I don't trust you at all. I've done this for months now. Hold on. I thought when I wipe my messages, when every single random fucking retarded loser psychotic female from Jisticle's Discord server just started to just leak all my fucking DMs with people, I thought that was because I was deleting evidence or whatever. Didn't Jisticle accuse me of that? When I was deleting all of my Discord messages, that it was because I was hiding stuff? Color me surprised. I can't believe this guy would delete messages. He seems like such a stand-up guy with nothing to hide. You can't just make shit up when you were still my friend while I did this constantly. And why don't you trust me if you've never told me anything in private? Because you are denying that anything I have said so far is true. So surely you never told me anything. She has her side of the DMs and can argue whatever she likes from those. Tell me, buddy, if I had to make these things up anywhere from 6 to 3 months ago and reference them, why would you have continued to speak to me since? If I am a liar, why the fuck would you have continued to speak to me? Free content. Terminal brain worms. This guy is in a pathetic worm-off with destiny over who has the trashiest girlfriend, knowing that shots will get aimed at his girlfriend in the process. Oh, and she's calling out Jisticle for weaponizing Cherry on stream too? Oh no. In reality, I thought you were my friend, but I always knew you'd immediately flip on me if I ever upset you because you do that to everybody. I just want you to go nuclear so I can move on. Is Jisticle copying the Destiny line? Does that make Jisticle an abuser like me? Uh-oh. You went low here first, bozo. Cry more. Doesn't Destiny usually attack these people back? I just want her to get this all off her chest right now. Imagine making a comment about me being obsessed with my ex when you dated your current girlfriend after she sent unsolicited nudes and flew to another continent unsolicited. I don't know if this is mentally deficiency, if this is mental deficiency on display, or he's just fine-tuning around and immediately calling someone else a liar. Oh, and he's just fine turning around and immediately calling someone else a liar. This fucker grabbed my hand and stabbed himself. Oh no. If Jisticle hadn't spent so much time crying about everything, I could have believed this was a bizarre play to feed my lies. I would regurgitate in the future, but I doubt it. But I spent hours talking that motherfucker down from the ledge. I mean, when Cherry told me they were in a relationship, I was quite surprised, and I told him he was an idiot for trying to keep it private. Oh yeah, he told me this was a short-term thing. Oh my God, no! You mean the girl that he said that he would be her Dr. K? The girl that he had committed? The girl that he said was so mentally ill that me even talking to her, let alone hooking up with her, was like abuse? The one that he's dating, oh my goodness, that he's farming for content on a stream and paying her money for? Holy shit. While telling her to leave her husband. Disgusting human filth. Oh my God. That had never crossed my mind until now, but to be fair, she had just ganked him in Canada. His principles directly relate to whatever is convenient and whoever he's fucking. Oh my God, it's like he's trying to become the person that he thought or thinks I am, I guess. Jesus Christ. Destiny Jr., for real, for real. Makes you think. Jesus.
I guess that's how it goes.
What is this?
Like, because I suspect that a lot of these people who are actively upset about this are people who are Democrats. So they're supposed to be closer to my side of politics than they are to the Republicans. Probably even closer to my side of politics than fucking this dipshit. You know? It's funny because he like had to zoom in to further erase the context as well.
It's just a camera cut. What do you mean? You need to zoom in to erase the context? What?
I think his content is only for your hardest haters audience. It's so funny how these conversations are just them spinning their wheels. They have so little actual political knowledge that they can't even discuss politics or do anything meaningful except hang off of our nuts. Meanwhile, the left is electing the new New York City mayor. You're meeting international politics and actually organizing and pushing for real shit.
Remember when... oh my God. Guess who's slurping him right now? Do you know who's slurping him over there? It's Mike from PA. It's Central Committee. Aww.
I know, but I just wish I wasn't getting fucking ass blasted with regular frequency by these dumb fucks who can manipulate people in the margins. You know what I mean? I can't quote tweet it because he blocked me and I blocked him. So I can't even fucking quote tweet him. He just does this from behind the block.
You just said that you have him blocked too. What do you mean?
It's just like, there's a lot of money to be made doing this too. A lot of these people are basically doing the premature anti-fascist commentary. Oh, you were an anti-fascist, but prematurely, before everyone else came on board with it, right? And therefore, you must be wrong. It's like, okay, well, you arrived at my position. Have some.
Does Lil Bro realize I carved out the space that he exists in right now? Was that what? Do you think he's the first person to fight against fascists on Twitch? Hello?
Face. Have some fucking decency. Not Dan. Dan is a Zionist, ultra-Zionist, genocidal piece of shit. But
that's Dan. Ultra-Zionist, ultra-Zio Dan. That's him.
You know, all the other people that are like actively looking for some kind of own against the left. You know, against the quote-unquote left. Have you seen your ex-co-host blaming the Nakba on the Arabs? No, I don't care. Let him fucking chirp into an increasingly smaller audience, please.
Chirp. He's chirping.
It is
Chirp.
utterly irrelevant.
Chirp.
He's so desperate for someone like myself or anyone else to be at odds with.
Yes, Ethan Klein is so desperate for your attention, Lil Bro. Everybody just loves your... They're so desperate for your attention, Lil Bro.
So that he could just like turn around and make content off of it. I don't want to get...
I love how I'm so much of a Voldemort to this guy that he'll say he's reacting directly to Dan and he'll talk about Ethan, but he tries so hard never to say my name or reference me directly because he's so fucking terrified.
Give him that, please. Stop bringing that shit up here. Nobody asked. By political ideology, 70% of liberals are voting Zohran Mamdani. 37% of moderates are voting Andrew Cuomo. 27% Zohran Mamdani. And the conservatives are 40% on Curtis Sliwa. And 23% of conservatives are going for Zohran Mamdani. Wow. Wow. 23% of conservatives are voting for Zohran Mamdani. What the fuck? My man is popping, dude.
Popping, dude. Oh, we need to watch these guys chat at some point. Ugh.
investigation is important. We believe that that's why this investigation is important. We believe that there's a possibility that a lot of these executive orders and pardons could be declared null and void in a court of law.
So you're saying that those pardons may not be legal or legitimate?
The lawyer guy, the Ryan dude, will defend this, by the way. He will defend this, by the way.
Orders and pardons could be declared null and void in a court of law.
So you're saying that those pardons may not be legal or legitimate?
I am saying that, Maria, and if you look at Joe Biden's one interview he's given in post-presidency about the auto pen was with the New York Times, and he admitted to the New York Times that they wouldn't, that they, that he just delegated that to staff.
What?
Unbelievable.
That they wouldn't, that they, New York Times, and he admitted to the New York Times that they wouldn't, that they, that he just delegated that to staff.
Good one. Fucking moron.
Night, a victim police are investigating after someone was hurt in a paintball incident involving live streamers. Saturday night, a victim reported being hit by a paintball along Lakeshore Boulevard. Police say multiple live streamers were armed with paintball guns while taking part in a scavenger hunt earlier that day. The victim went to Austin Emergency on Riverside Drive to file a police report. The case is being investigated as assault with injury, and so far, no one's been arrested. Police are investigating after...
Ethan Klein is hosting a Dan Clancy remix challenge.
Dan KKK Clancy.
And this was purely chance.
Jesus. Okay. I actually lied about my streaming time. I've got work I need to do. Have connections. Bowling ball, city hall, supermarket, bowling pins, golf course, bowling alley, sponge, bowling green, decade, highway, Wall Street, fingers, Brooklyn Bridge, Colander, swimming pool, and commandments. Ten fingers, 10 decade, 10 years in a decade, 10 commandments. How many bowling pins are there? Probably 10 of them, I guess. Okay. Oh my God. Oh my God. Like things with like things in the second part of the word. Oh my God. Fuck, never mind. Like a course, an alley, a way you can go in a street. Never mind. Forget that. Delete that. Off the VOD. A bowling ball. I have no idea, bro. Did we even get the easiest one? Oh, we did get the easiest one. Fuck. A golf course, a bowling alley, a sponge, bowling green, bowling ball, highway, Wall Street, City Hall. I don't know what Colander is. Colander? 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 Like things in New York? But is Bowling Green in New York? I don't think so. What the fuck? Bowling ball. There's a highway in New York and a city hall, right? In New York City? And a supermarket? That's not it. That can't possibly be it. This is not it. I don't know why I'm guessing. It's going to say one off and already fucked. What? Oh, yeah. Bowling Green. Oh, in downtown New York City. Of course. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Okay. Place where you can go play games? Maybe that's what Colin. Oh no, fuck. I don't know, dude. Golf course, bowling alley, supermarket, swimming pool, highway, bowling ball, and sponge. Fingers go in this. Can fingers go in a sponge? No. A drive? Can you drive in a highway and you drive in a golf course? No. Sponge. Gutters? There's gutters at the but that would be like a bowling lane, right? The whole bowling alley. Supermarket. I don't know, dude. I don't know what this word means at all. I'm fucked. It's over. It's ogre. It's all ogre for us, guys. Oh my god. Lanes. Lanes in a supermarket? Lanes in a bowling alley? Lanes in a highway? That's it. I'm a genius. And swimming pool. Olympic swimming pool. Lanes. Easy. Boom. Easy. I'm a god. What can I say? I'm a fucking god. What can I say? Golf course? Colin? I don't know what the fuck this is at all. Oh, holes? They have holes? Colander? Colander? What the fuck is this thing? It's a perforated kitchen utensil. Oh man. If I was that Tina girl, I'd know what this is, because one of the 4,000 responsibilities I would have would be strategically planning out the kitchen. All right. Referendo, cappuccino, babbuccino, hoppuccino, moppuccino, cappuccino, cappuccino, appuccino, albuccino. My Duderinos. I'll catch you guys tomorrow, Rito. Be careful. Tomorrow's a big day, I think. Wait, is it? Oh, Tectone said he would stay streaming for me. Oh, God.
It looks like we might have to do another show. This young man who's with us is the recipient of the J. Albert...
We have to do both of these.